Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott, and you are here getting ready to listen to another segment of Can We Talk? And I'm here with Charles Scott
Junior. How you guys doing today? How was your week?
Maybe you want to lead off and say a couple of comments?
Yes, how you guys doing today? Can We Talk? And we're here to help people, not just real estate, but the economy in general, how to navigate the changing waters as we see, because, we're in some changing times. This is unprecedented what we've seen in the market, not just real estate, but the economy in general, where there's your local grocery, eggs going up 10% versus, housing going up 30%. But we're here to help you navigate and basically give you some tips to help you, see what you can do.
Every week we try to figure out what happened in the past week and give you
Yes.
some information that will help you in the future so that you are able to make some of those decisions or at least understand what's happening out there in the economy, whether it be, hitting your pocketbook, inflation, money that you're spending, how to plan a little bit wiser, whether it may be as far as, your income, finding
Yes.
a job, and, purchasing a home, or in general, just saving some money.
Exactly, which is very important with the upcoming year. Now, that's probably should be the word of the year, but they didn't choose it. But inflation, everybody's learned what the definition of inflation is because they were forced to. You see everything going up, whether it's gas, your groceries, or certain purchases in this clothing store. But the thing is, to keep up with inflation, you also must pivot and make a new strategy. And today we're going to be talking towards homeowners. Homeowners have an ability to do multiple options, whether it's tax write-offs or what HELOCs, which is called. Yes. And people may say, what's a HELOC? A HELOC is a home equity line of credit, which is what you go to your bank and you sit down and you say, okay, let's say I have a house worth $150,000, and over time it grows to $200,000. I'm like, wow, I have some equity, but I won't want to sell my house or refinance, but I still want to take advantage of this equity. So what the bank will do is then sit you down, check with your finances, see how your payment history is, your credit, and they say, okay, what we're going to do is give you what we call a HELOC, which you have experience with also.
Yes. On top of that, the most important thing with a HELOC is what you do with the money.
Yes, very important.
And, when I say what you do with the money, one of the nice things about a HELOC or home equity line of credit is that you have access to the money.
Yes.
But it's not like where you go, let's say, for example, like Charles just said, you have a $150,000 mortgage, your house is worth $250,000. So suppose you get a line of credit for $25,000. And so now what they're saying to you is you have available for your use $25,000. We're going to give you a checking account. And we're going to give you the
checkbook.
Checkbook.
Yes.
So you can write out checks against that $25,000. They don't go and just deposit the $25,000 into your checking account, but they give you a checkbook and you can write out checks, and you might write one out for $1,000, say, for example. Now that means you have $24,000 left to use. And you have to pay back the money. The monthly payments start once you start writing out the checks. However, if you only take $1,000 out of the $25,000, now they'll only bill you for that payment based on just that $1,000.
Correct.
Now, let's say you see an opportunity. I always say use your home equity line of credit for some type of advantage or an opportunity where you see where you can make more money with the money that you're spending.
Exactly.
Let's say, for example, loan consolidation. That's a good one.
Yes.
Especially in these times. Let's say the interest rates on your credit cards have soared. Interest rates are sensitive to variable rates. So let's say you have $10,000 in credit card debt. Now, the interest rate on your credit cards is 20%. So you're paying 20% interest rate on that credit card. Let's say your monthly payment is $600 a month for the $10,000 that you have on the credit cards. You're paying $600 a month payment. And you got a payment here, and let's say you have, say 6 credit cards, $1,000 here, $1,200 here, $1,500 here. So you're paying interest rate on all these different types of credit cards. So now what you do is you take your home equity line of credit, you take $10,000 out, you pay off all those credit cards. So now don't cancel them. Remember, I didn't say cancel them, because when you cancel your credit cards, it affects your credit score. So you pay off all of the credit cards, and let's say your home equity line of credit, your interest rate is, let's say, 8%. So now look what you've done. You've turned around and got rid of all the credit cards that were charging you 20% and traded them in for an interest rate of 8%.
Exactly. Now, people may say, well, what's the difference? I don't really look at the interest rate. I just make the minimum payment, Mr. Scott. But what they don't realize is when you look at that difference, you're going to save so much money in the long run versus 8% interest rate versus what you were paying originally, 20%. And I see some credit cards, due to Federal Reserve increasing interest rates, going to 30% for their credit cards.
That's right. I was being generous.
Yeah, I said 20. I've seen 39.9 APR. I'm like, wow.
Can you imagine that? And also, they started some time ago on your credit cards. If you'll notice, if you pay the minimum payment, it'll tell you how many years it will take for you to pay off that credit card. If you go out and buy the big screen TV, by the time it's in the junkyard, you're still paying for it.
Exactly. It'll be 6-7 years later.
6-7 years, you're still paying for that item. So we try to teach you ways of using the same amount of money that you have, but repositioning it so that you can come out ahead.
Exactly.
And banks do the same thing. Banks, if they have debt out there, they buy back their debt at a lower interest rate, and then they loan it back out at a higher interest rate.
Exactly.
They're constantly repositioning, stocks, bonds, banks, the Federal Reserve. All of these people are constantly repositioning their money, whereas they can get the biggest advantage.
Correct. Now, also with the HELOC, some people may say, well, I don't have credit cards. Why should I still get a HELOC? I would say get one if you're a homeowner that has a lot of equity, just in case opportunity comes about. Like my father was saying, it's considered cash because you get a checkbook. You can write, let's say you want to put a down payment on a house, you can use your HELOC, because remember, you don't start paying on that money until you use it. So you can get it just to be ready for when opportunity knocks.
Exactly. Now, you may, like you said, get the money or have access to the money in case of an opportunity, something pulls up, you want to see it, you want to buy it.
Yes.
Some people even use a HELOC to, let's say, for example, buy a car. If they're going to go out and pay a high interest rate, especially what's happened the last couple of years where the used cars were worth a whole lot of money. People bought a used car and then they sold the car and made money on the car.
Very true.
You've got to be a real shrewd investor and start looking at how you can make your money work for you.
Very true.
In these times, because changes are going to occur, interest rates are going to change, but there's ways that you have to look at it as to how it can be to your advantage.
Yes.
Now, what's the difference now, let's say, for example, between a HELOC and a refinance? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. So when people may say, well, refinancing, I heard that's bad and there's not something to do. No, refinancing is what happens when you have equity in the house and you access equity by getting what they call cash out refinance. For example, let's say you bought a house for $200,000, and let's say over the next, let's say 15 years, you pay half that off. So right now you have $100,000 worth of equity, you owe $100,000, but let's say you want to pull out that money and use it for something, maybe to buy another property. What you can do is have a refinance, which what happens is they're going to basically take out the cash, give it to you, and add it back to your balance. Now you may say, I'm back to where I started. Not so, because let's say you refinance for a lower interest rate. You have a lower payment, and now you have cash. You have $100,000, and people may say, well, what am I going to do with that? Opportunities. You can use that to put a down payment on another property, but this is the best thing. You're not going to pay taxes on that because it's considered debt. And that's what we call good debt, because at this point, you took out the $100,000 worth of equity, and you're going to use that to build equity with other projects and motions you would make.
Exactly. The other thing is this. When you take out a refinance, remember you're refinancing your house. In essence, what it's almost like which it is, it's one loan paying off the other loan.
Yes.
It's usually not advisable to refinance to a higher interest rate.
No.
Unless there's always that unless you are going to invest that money in something that's going to pay you even more
Very true.
interest. So in other words, when you're taking money out or when you're getting money, regardless of the interest rate, it's always what are you going to do with the money? If you are going to pay a high interest rate to have access to money, and you're going to double the amount that you are investing, then go for it.
Exactly, because that investment right there will pay off what you have there.
Exactly. With a refinance, you're paying back the money immediately. With a HELOC, you're only paying back payments for money that you take out of and that you access. So if you have a $25,000 line of credit, you only take $5,000 of that money, or write a check out for $5,000 against that money, you're only paying payments on that $5,000.
Exactly.
Versus if you refinance and you take out $25,000 after you've paid off your old loan and ended up with $25,000, you are now making payments on that additional $25,000 for the whole 15 or 30 years. True. So you got to know, is your investment going to be short term or long term?
Or long term. So you have to have a plan and say, maybe it's more short term, so I'll get a HELOC. But if it's more long term, hey, I'm buying something larger, maybe I'll do a refinance. Exactly.
Always remember this too. You can get money when you don't need money.
Always. I was going to tell them too. Now you might say, "Oh, I'll worry about the HELOC and refinance when I find an opportunity." No, it's best to get it set just to be ready for it when opportunity knocks, because you may not know when that is, and let's say the bank may not be in a position to give you an HELOC or refinance when the time comes.
Exactly. You know, I always said, and then people always say, "Well, I can always borrow money." They give you money when you don't need it. They give it to the people that don't need it. When you need it, they don't give it to you. That's because in most cases, people wait until they're in debt. They wait until they missed a couple of payments on the bills, or they wait until they're behind, and then they say, I need to borrow some money to catch up on these bills or pay these bills off. So now you go to the bank. Your credit score was 760. Now your credit score is 580 because you missed the payments. And now you're saying to the bank, loan me money to pay off my bills. Well, now you need the money and they're not going to give it to you.
Exactly.
Versus if you had gotten a HELOC or gotten the other money, you wouldn't, first of all, be behind because the money would have been there, even if you didn't use it. So, you know, a shrewd and smart person always has access to the money when he doesn't need it for the times when he does need it.
They call it like a rainy day fund. Then people wait till it's raining to get the umbrella when you should have the umbrella already ready, which will be your HELOC or your refinance.
Exactly. And speaking of rainy day funds, you know, a lot of the cities out there right now are going to be going through what they call a reassessment.
Yes, yes.
So we want to maybe touch on that a little bit today and let people know what's going to happen with a reassessment. You know, by law, just about every city out there, so every so many years, they have to go around and look at all the properties and reevaluate how much are those properties worth. And that's what the city bases the taxes on. So when you get your tax bill, the tax bill will say, well, you owe so much money on taxes for this particular house. Now, they usually hire a company, an independent company. The city doesn't have someone sitting in City Hall behind a desk and then he gets in his car and he rides around with a notepad looking at,
well, that one looks good.
looking at 50,000 homes.
Oh, no.
He ain't got time for all that. So what happens is that they hire a company, and this company can work in multiple states.
Exactly.
They can use drones. They could,
right.
You know,
they could be based in Las Vegas, and they say, "Oh, Meriden, Connecticut. Okay, we're going up 10%."
Exactly. Just like Google Maps. You know,
very true.
They send the guy around with the camera on the top of the car, taking the picture, and then they send the drone up. They measure the size of your house.
Exactly.
And then what happens is they put all this information together, and then they come up with a value for your house. So a lot of the cities right now are in the process of, usually it's every 7 years, every 10 years, and the different cities have the different, years in which they have to do the assessment.
Correct.
So I just want to make everybody aware out there that many people have seen their values of their houses, escalate tremendously.
Very tremendous.
So everybody's happy. Actually, there's no money in your pocket until you actually sell.
Exactly.
So if your house was worth, let's say, 150, and now it's worth 300,000, that's good. Everybody's happy. Oh, my house is worth twice as much money. Well, actually, it's like a stock. You don't make any money until you sell it.
Now not only are you smiling, guess who's really smiling? The city. Because think about it, the city is dealing with inflation too. Things are costing more money. They have to increase payroll, the supplies, they clean the streets, they fill the potholes. Now they're going to say we need to increase our books. So they're going to do a reassessment on these properties. And I see a trend of taxes going up in every county.
Exactly. So now they come around and, you know, you're smiling and you're standing outside and, oh, my house is worth $300,000. But remember, you're not selling it, so therefore it's worth it on paper.
Correct.
So now the city comes along, the city says, oh, well, usually the assessment is like 70% of whatever the value of your house is. So last time your house was worth $150,000. So let's say they might have had it assessed at $90,000. So now, depending upon what your mill rate is, and what that is a factor that the city uses to multiply to get the actual taxes.
Correct.
So now the city doesn't really bill you on the whole full value of your house. So now, let's say your taxes were based on $90,000. So now your taxes are, let's say, $5,000, okay? So now, all of a sudden, you get a letter in the mail. Oh, you know, congratulations. We're so happy. Our city is on the map because the properties in our area have all increased. The property values are higher, and you're agreeing with them, and you're saying, oh, that's right. Everything is worth money. So is mine. And they say, based upon that information, your taxes, instead of $5,000, are now $8,000. Whoa, wait a minute.
Whoa, $8,000. That's a big increase.
Now you're saying, but, yeah, you were just
now you're saying my house isn't worth nothing.
My house isn't worth all that.
Look at it, there's a crack over there, the foundation's falling apart. Now, when this happens, people may panic and say, wow, my tax bill went up a lot, but, you know, how does that affect me? I didn't sell the house and everything like that. I'm seeing all these property values go up. People are selling. So the city needs to, you know, increase their books. So you're going to see taxes going up, you know, tremendously, if not substantial, as they say.
So now what happens is, because the taxes went up, you're saying, well, you know, now what am I going to do? However, that's why we're here.
Exactly.
There are some options that you have. Number one, you can appeal the assessment.
Correct.
If you can give information to the city, or not to the city, first step is to the person or the company that went out and looked at the
make
property.
sure you read that paper very closely.
And when he said read closely, there's dates that you have to abide by. If you miss those dates, it's over with.
It's like default. Oh, you agreed to us increasing that? All right, pay it.
They're saying in that information is that you can appeal the amount of your new increase, and you have to call the company that went out and looked at it. And you have to set up an appointment with them, and you have to talk on the phone with them.
Yes.
And there used to be a situation where you'd go in their office, and you would, not in their office, but they would have, even in their office, but then it would be City Hall, but in person. You bring all your paperwork, and you show them, well, this house only sold for this house only sold for that. Well, since the COVID, they don't do that
Everything's
anymore.
remote.
Everything is remote. So you can call, set up an appointment with them, and they'll talk to you on the phone. And you're going to explain to them why you feel as though your house is not worth all of that money.
Correct.
And you can say, okay, I bought the house for X amount of dollars. You know, they really, that does not cut it. They don't care what you paid for it.
Yeah.
You could have paid $1,000 for it, but that doesn't mean it's worth
the present value.
They want to know, what are the houses selling for in your area? Why is your house different to the, remember they did all of this by a computer.
Yep.
Now they're saying to you, why should we make your house worth less money than the other house?
And that's where you have to prove your case, basically.
Exactly. Maybe they didn't see the inside. Maybe the other house that they used had a nice granite countertop, stainless steel appliance.
Great.
A lot of people have been flipping houses. That means they go in, they put granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, all new cabinets, hardwood floors, everything. So the house next door to yours sold for $300,000. So they're saying, hey, your house from the outside looks the same square footage. Yours must be worth $300,000.
Say, whoa, you got to check the inside. I have wallpaper, I have carpet. That's from the 80s.
I've been here for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't have all of those things. My house is not worth it. My house will never sell as much as the one did next door.
Exactly.
So you were happy before when they told you it was worth 300. Now you're trying to figure out, well, they didn't really see.
They didn't see the inside. Now we're telling you this because some people are going to be really affected by this. Because imagine, let's say you're retired, you're on a fixed income, you pay your tax bill in some states, some counties, it's every July 1st, every January 1st. You know that exact amount. You have a check already written every year. But then you're going to see, wow, it's going up 30%. I don't have that in my budget. I have to factor that in. I might have to be unretired, go back to work.
Just to pay the taxes.
Just to pay the taxes on a house I spent 30 years paying for. So we're telling you this because there are options. You want to petition that and tell them, hey, my house is different. It may be a little dated. I shouldn't be paying this much tax.
Exactly. So you get an opportunity to sit down, or not sit down, but first you send in all the information, and then then they can make corrections.
Correct.
And if they make the corrections, then they send that to the city. Now that's still not the end, because you can then, if they do not agree with you, you can then go to the city again and you can appeal it. And usually it's like about 3-4 months later, you can appeal it within the city. So there are avenues, but the most important thing to remember is that they have dates. If you miss those dates and you
don't miss those dates.
It's like going to court. If someone sues you for money and you show up at court and you convince the judge that you should not be sued, or maybe for not as much, you got a fighting chance. If you don't show up at court at all, judge has no recourse.
It's like you admit guilt or by default.
You lost.
You lost.
Next thing you know, you got to pay the bill. So we're telling the people out there this so that you can get prepared for it, so you can plan for it, so that if your property gets reassessed, you can appeal it. Now remember, the city not only assesses real estate. They assess if you have a business.
Oh yes.
They assess the machinery in your business. If you have an office, they assess the office equipment that you have. If you have a car, they assess
car
the
tax
car.
is on the way up too.
So what we're telling you is not only information pertaining to a homeowner. Remember in this show we give the average Joe information too. You might have items out there that you feel as though maybe the car that they're assessing it for $10,000 and the motor conked out last year and it's sitting over in the side of your yard and you don't even, and it's not even
they're trying to charge you tax on
that.
They're
charging you tax on a same car that the neighbor got that's all fixed up. So you have a chance to do some of these different things, but like again, if you don't show up, you automatically lose.
Exactly.
So you having a chance to appeal.
Very true.
Now, even though we told you that the taxes can go up, there's still one caveat.
As I said, the other side of it.
The mill rate. Remember, the city only needs a certain amount of money for its budget.
Correct.
So usually 6 months later, after the assessment, the city sets a budget. That means how much are they going to pay the school teachers, the firemen, the police, clean the streets up, all of the money that the city needs to pay for their bills. So let's say they go in the entire city and they assess all the property at 25% over what it was the previous year.
Correct.
And at that mill rate, they paid their bills. Now let's say the city doesn't increase any more bills. The same bills they had the last year, but yet the property values all went up. So now the city's really got like 25% more money than they really need.
Correct.
Because they're charging everybody more. So they're going to say, well, wait a minute now. We went up on all these people's taxes and we got all this surplus money that we don't need because our bills are paid. So they then will change what they call the mill rate.
Yes.
The mill rate, if the mill rate is the percentage that they factor into your increased taxes or your present taxes. So they may reduce that mill rate by 20%.
Correct.
So that they still have enough money to run the city. So even though the property value went up,
they'll adjust
the mill rate went down times the factor. So your taxes may go up, but not double.
Exactly.
So but the whole secret here again, show up at the budget hearing.
Yeah,
when the city sets their budget, that's when they give the city and the voters an opportunity to show up at the city hall to voice your opinion. The city may say, "Oh, you know what? We want to keep that money. We want to put it into a rainy day fund. The mayor needs more money for his salary. All the policemen are going to get a raise.
Everybody's going to bonus.
School teachers are all going to get a raise. We're giving everybody in City Hall a 20% raise with the extra money we have."
Now, you as a taxpayer may say, "Hey, that money will do better in my pocket. Why does the city need to get it?" So it's good to be active in, I would say, your city's politics, or at least being abreast of what's going on.
Right. That's when you see the packed houses where all of the city show up at City Hall and they say, "Wait a minute, you're not passing the budget with that current figure in there. We want you to reduce the budget. It's padded with too many raises in there." And you'll hear many times, and this happens not only in a city, but in Congress. You see in Congress where they're fighting, the Republicans and the Democrats are always fighting back and forth.
How about this? They get into such fights, they'll shut the whole government down.
How about that?
How about that?
How about that? So what we're giving you this information out there, now you can start relating to it, because you'll hear where it says the budget is coming to an impasse, everything's going to get shut down, the policemen aren't going to get paid, this isn't going to happen. That's because they're fighting as to how much money is there. And some people are saying, "Oh, there's too much fat in there. You got to cut out this. You got to cut down these expenses.
Trim it down, give it to the people."
Exactly. So you as a citizen can show up at the budget hearing and say, "Wait a minute, maybe the city wants to build a brand new school that's going to cost $80 million. And they're going to say, "Well, wait a minute, our taxes are all going to soar."
You may say, "I'm not even in that school district. It doesn't affect my kids. Let's not do that."
So you have an opportunity to say something. So
Make
now
sure your voice is heard.
If they cut everything back down to the way it was, now even though the property value went up, even though the mill rate went down, you're still paying just about the same taxes.
Exactly.
So today we gave you a lesson in how the economics work with a city as far as the taxes, the mill rate, and this is something coming to you. Every city out there, they're coming to you with an assessment of your property.
Very true.
When you sit down and you get that letter and you open that letter and you see how your property is increasing, you get happy, and then you see the taxes, you get sad. You can do something about it.
Exactly. We want to tell people, those who are not yet homeowners yet, remember when you're searching for a house, look at the taxes. I see a lot of people look for houses, the taxes is the last thing they look at. Get familiar with your local taxes in your city or the city you want to move to, so you can say, maybe that's not a city for me. They have a lot higher taxes. But we're going to cover more of this. We're going to make this in a series.
Yeah, we're going to make this into a series. So again, like I said, what we talked about today can pertain to a house, a car, furniture, office furniture, whatever it may be. But as you can see, we're giving you information that can assist you and pass it on to other people when they get those letters out there in the mail. If you're retired, we got to get into another session, because if you're retired, you get an exemption. You can go to City Hall and pay a lot less taxes. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next, definitely.
So I'll let you close it out today.
All right, yes. Thank you for watching. Make sure you watch every week, and we'll go from there. And we're here to help the people and go forward.
Until next week, God bless.
Amen.